Alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. We're continuing with the topic of the forbidden things in Islam, forbidden actions in Islam. And today we're going to cover so many different prohibitions, since so many Muslims don't understand what's lawful and what isn't. We're going to speak about backbiting today. We're going to also speak about gossip and what's the difference between the two. Also, the question that comes up a lot: can men wear gold? You hear you people are telling you that women can't wear gold. Is that true, or is it men who can't wear them? We're going to also answer the question that so many of you keep asking me about, which I don't know why. You keep asking me about music. We're going to cover that today. And also, we're going to explain the hadith about pants dragging the ground that most Muslims do not understand the meaning of. Okay? So let's begin. First of all, let's talk about music. Let's talk about music. And this is one of the big prohibitions in Islam that many Muslims today ignore. We got Muslim singers, Muslim performers. Y'all know DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled is Palestinian. Yes, he is. His family's originally from Palestine. His mom and his dad. He's not African American. He's another one of those Arabs that people think is African American, like y'all think I am. You listen to DJ Khaled, listen to how he talks, and y'all say, oh, he's African American. He is 100% Arabic, Palestinian. Okay? That's why he wears his beard. That's why his name is what it is. And he'll tell you that he's a practicing Muslim. He'll tell you that. Ask him what his religion is. He'll tell you, I am a practicing Muslim. But he deals with music. He's one of the biggest music producers here in the world. Not just in America, but in the world. For those of you who watch The Voice on TV, he'll be the mentor with Alicia Keys. He's the mentor on The Voice. And yes, he is not African American. He's like Sister Laila Nasheeba, Arabi, except I'm Egyptian. He's Palestinian. So don't be deluded by people's accents because you sound African American. You know, DJ Khaled grew up in the African American community just like I have. We sound African American. But don't be deluded. So what about music? You got many other famous Muslim musicians. What's his name? Cat Stevens, who he's changed his name. I think it's Hamza. What is his name? But Cat Stevens, famous musician, practicing Muslim, but he's back playing music with his guitar and his band. He got anointed into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. So is music haram? Well, Allah speaks about music in the Quran. Allah tells us in the Quran, in the interpretation, the meaning, and of mankind is he who purchases idle talk to mislead men from the path of Allah. You will never understand the Quran, guys, until you learn what the Prophet had to say about it. He explained these verses. And one of his students, Ibn Masud, who was one of the original companions, Ibn Masud, who is the one whom the Prophet Muhammad made dua for, asking Allah to not just give him an understanding of how to recite the Quran, but a deep understanding of its meaning. Ibn Masud swears to us. He used to swear by Allah to what that verse meant. He said that this verse that this verse is referring to music. When Allah speaks about men who purchase idle talk, he's talking about music, singing musical songs with instruments to lead you away from Allah. Also, two other companions, Abu Amir and Abu Malik al-Ashari, they too said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, amongst my nation will be those who will make permissible adultery. They will also make it lawful for men to wear silk. They will also make it lawful for Muslims to drink alcohol and intoxicants. And they will make musical instruments lawful. This hadith is authentic. So here the Prophet told us that this would be one of the signs of the last hour. He said there will appear amongst you many Muslims singing and stuff. You will have a lot of DJ Khaleds. DJ Khaled, this is what he does for a living. He's a millionaire, makes his money off of producing musical musicians. If you ask DJ Khaled, he'll tell you that he was told by his sheikh, and he claims he has a sheikh. His sheikh said it's lawful. And believe it or not, there's a lot of Sufi sheikhs out there who will tell you it's lawful. That's the same with Yusuf Islam, or whatever his name is. Cat Stevens. You know, he followed his sheikh, a Sufi sheikh too, who told him that it's okay for him to make money off of playing musical instruments and singing as long as he makes a certain donation for the sake of Allah. And this is what they say. And DJ Khaled gives lots of money to Palestine guys. He sends lots of money to Syria and stuff too. That's what these guys do. These guys who make their living off of musical, singing musical instruments and song and all this, they give a lot of their earnings to the Muslim community, to the Muslim world, thinking that that's making up for that. This is what the Prophet meant. They'll be people who will make these things lawful that Allah made haram. Also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, in this nation there will be punishments of earthquakes, showers of stones, and deformity that will spread amongst the people when the people take intoxicants and they listen to female singers and play musical instruments. This is why what's happening in the world today is happening. A lot of Muslims ask, why come Allah sending so many earthquakes to the Muslim land? Why is it that the Muslim lands are experiencing so many calamities? Why is it that more and more babies are being born deformed, looking like animals with more hands and fingers and eyes than they should have? Why? Because we've allowed ourselves to make things lawful that Allah made haram. We've made intoxicants lawful, that medical marijuana. We've made, we allow women to sing. Look how many Arabic female musical singers, female singers there are. And again, we take musical instruments and make songs and stuff. So again, this stuff is haram. Music, and when we talk about music, I'm talking about music itself. Singing is not haram. It's haram for a woman to sing publicly because it requires beautifying her voice. And Allah commands the believing woman to not soften and beautify her voice publicly. But there's nothing wrong with men singing. But how they mess up is when they add the musical instruments. Cat Stevens or Yusuf Islam, he was doing good when he was just making his nasheeds without the music. But when he added back his guitar and the keyboards, now he's doing something wrong. Okay? DJ Khaled, he would be fine if he was promoting a group like the Pentatonics. Y'all know the Pentatonics? They don't sing with music. If DJ Khaled was promoting singers like the Pentatonics, who were all male and not female, then he would be fine. But no, he's producing real groups with musical accomplishments and all that. And this is all haram. Okay? And also, a lot of Muslims ask the question, well, what about drums? Is it okay to have a singing group of men who play the drum? Okay? No. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam only allowed the women to beat the drum. It's like a tambourine. Really, it's not really a drum. It's a drum that's got little bells that like tambourine. He allowed the women to use those, but not the men. In fact, this type of drum is described as the flute, and the flute. Y'all know what a flute is. This type of drum and the flute is described as the voice of an immoral fool. Okay. So again, you want to stay away from musical instruments, guys. All kinds of musical instruments are forbidden in Islam. That includes the piano, that includes the drum, the flute, the guitar, any musical instrument, the harp, the chimes, all of that stuff is haram. Singing, if you were an all male group and you're singing like the pentatonics without a cappella, without any music, that's fine. But when you start adding musical instruments, you've messed up. So I hope that answers the question about music. But again, guys, there's always exceptions to the rule. We're surrounded by music. You go outside your house, you go to the mall, there's music playing. Nothing you can do about that. You're riding in your car, somebody drives up to you with music playing. Nothing you can do. Allah doesn't hold us accountable for stuff that's beyond our control. But for you to go out and buy music and put it in your car and play it, that's something different. You're committing a sin. I like the pentatonics. I listen to their a cappella. Okay? And that brings us to another prohibition or another forbidden action that many Muslims are not aware of, or they are aware of and ignore, and that is gossip and backbiting. Gossip, gossip, gossip. What is the difference? Gossip is when you spread stories. People come to you and tell you stuff, and you want to call up somebody else and tell them what they said. You want to spread and circulate rumors and all that. Backbiting. Backbiting is to say something about a person that they would not like in their absence. And what you're saying is the truth. They're both haram. Listen to what Allah says in the Quran, in the interpretation, the meaning. Do not backbite one another. Would you like to eat the flesh of your dead brother? Believe you me, you would hate it. Here Allah is commanding us to not sit around talking about each other, saying bad things about one another that the person that's absent would not like. And again, if what you're saying is the truth, it's backbiting. But what you're saying is not true, now you're slandering him. If you're lying on that person, you're doing even worse than backbiting. You're slandering him. So you want to stay away from backbiting, stay away from slander. In other words, don't say anything bad about another person, period. Just keep your mouth shut. Remember the hadith of the Prophet where he said, if you don't have anything good to say, then just shut up. And that's what we need to do, just shut up. Okay? Also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there are 72 different types of riba, the least of which is as bad as a man having sex with his own mother, and the worst of which is when a man slanders the honor of his brother. So again, if you don't have anything nice to say, just shut up. Too many Muslims like to try to attack each other's character, especially on social media. You don't like me because you don't like the way I answer your question. So you're going to go on Facebook and talk about me like a dog, slander my character, attack my website, my reputation. This is like killing me. This is the worst sin of all. You want to talk about credit cards. Forget about interest in credit cards. You better think about the interest of slandering another person's honor. And also to show how bad backbiting and slander is, we're not even supposed to sit in the presence of people who do that. If you go to the mosque and there's a group of sisters sitting there talking about another person who's not present, you should leave. First of all, before you leave, you should remind them, astaghfirullah, my sisters, I don't mean to butt in, but what you're doing is wrong. You're saying bad things about another person who is not here. Remember, Allah told us to stay away from bad, evil talk. Remember, the Prophet said if we don't have anything good to say, to remain silent, and then get up and leave. And then get up and leave. You don't sit there in their presence. Also, remember what the prophet said. The prophet said, whoever defends the honor of another Muslim brother, Allah will protect his face from the hellfire on the day of judgment. So Allah will reward you for defending the honor of someone else, even if it's somebody you don't like. I remember a few years ago, about 20 years ago, I had a young brother join this website, and he started speaking really badly about another famous speaker. Now, even though what he was saying about the man was true, it was still backbiting. And what made me so angry was I had to come and defend the man. Even though the things he said were true, this person was doing some horrible things. Like I told me, it's not upon you to sit here and backbite him like that. So now you put me in a situation where I have to come in here. Yes, this man may be an innovator and all that, but now I got to come in here and defend his honor because of what you're doing. What you're doing is worse than he. So we have to be careful, guys. We're not even supposed to sit in the presence or the company of people who talk about other people in a bad way. If you find yourself around people doing that, you should try to remind them to fear Allah, and you have to defend the honor of that person and then leave that company until they stop. And again, for those people who indulge in slander, slander is to say bad things about a person behind their back that they would not like, that is not the truth. It's even worse. Okay? So you have to stay away from slander. And also, guys, eavesdropping. This is another big problem today. Eavesdropping. You want to go around sneaking and listening, eavesdropping on what other people say. Well, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no eavesdropper will be allowed to enter paradise. So you want to eavesdrop on other people's conversations so you can then take back what you heard and tell it to other people. Understand, you've just barred yourself an entrance into paradise. So this is even worse. You're spying on other people's conversations so you can go back and report what you heard. This is wrong. Okay? And also, guys, to show how terrible we have it as Muslims with this backbiting and slander and gossip. The Prophet told us, one day the Prophet walked by two graves. And he said that he could hear the people in the graves being punished. He said one of them is being punished for not cleaning himself after urinating. And the other person is being punished in his grave because he used to eavesdrop and spread malicious gossip. He used to go around gossiping, spreading what he heard about others. So again, we have to be careful because again, Allah is not going to wait till the day of judgment to punish us. When we do bad sins, Allah will punish us in this world for it. Plus, you got that grave. He's going to punish you in that grave for it too. And then you will get punished on the day of judgment. So don't think that you got a long time to get away with something. You're going to be punished for those sins you do. So be careful backbiting, slandering, gossiping, and eavesdropping in on other people. And that brings us to another prohibition or another forbidden action that many Muslims do not take enough heed to. And that is the prohibition of peeking in other people's houses. Allah tells us in the Quran in the interpretation of meaning, O you who believe, do not enter houses other than your own until you have sought permission and been told to enter. Don't just walk in other people's houses. And don't go around peeking through the curtains at people. Okay? You're going to peek in my house to see what's going on with me and find me doing things that I don't want you to see. So again, don't enter into a person's home without knocking. If they tell you to enter, then enter. If they don't answer, then you leave. And never walk around peeking into my house. In fact, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever looks into somebody else's house without their permission, that person who owns the house has a right to poke your eye out. You see how this man's peeking in somebody's house? Now, if they took a stick and knocked his eye out, Allah wouldn't punish them for that because he had no business doing that. So again, that shows how horrific a sin it is. And then finally for today, what about the big sin that so many Muslim men ask us about? Wearing your pants below the ankles. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there are three groups of people whom Allah will not look at or speak to on the day of judgment. And one of them is the person who wore his garments dragging the ground out of pride, out of arrogance or pride. And also another person is a person that used to give presents and then would throw it up in your face. In other words, they remind you, don't forget, remember that time I did this for you? And then the third group are people who sell their product by lying and stuff. You want to swear that you got the best yogurt in the world when you don't. So when we talk about wearing your garments below the ankles, we're talking about dragging your pants, dragging your dress. Not dress, because for men it's a thobe. Dragging your thobe on the ground out of arrogance. Now, when the Prophet talked about this, Abu Bakr came to him and told him, "O Prophet of Allah, sometimes my thobe, my garment drags the ground, but not out of arrogance." The Prophet said, "Well, I'm speaking about those who do this out of arrogance." Okay, they're really doing there, and they say that they're not doing it out of arrogance, but in reality they are. And again, that's what the Prophet meant when he said, whatever part of the lower part of your garment is below the ankles will be in the hellfire. Now that doesn't mean that men have to wear floods. Look at this picture here. I put a picture of a man in a pair of pants. This is permissible. His pants are not dragging the ground. You see how his pants stop right there at the top of his shoe. This is how you brothers should wear your pants. It does not mean that you have to walk around with your pants up to your knee looking like a fool because you got on floods. It means just like this picture, don't let them drag the ground out of arrogance. Okay? Now for a woman this is different because the top of a woman's feet is part of her nakedness. For us women, we have to wear closed-toed shoes. You have to wear shoes in which the top of your feet are not open or not seen. If you don't have closed-toed shoes on, then you can wear your jilbab or your abaya dragging the ground, to cover the top of your feet. But this is not the case for men. Okay? And then that brings us to the last prohibition. What about men wearing gold? Guess what? It's haram. It is not haram for a woman to wear gold, but it is haram for you men. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said silk and gold have been permitted or allowed for the women of my nation, but they are forbidden for the men. So you brothers cannot wear silk. You can't even wear anything that has silk in it. And you cannot wear any type of gold. Okay? The Prophet saw a man wearing a gold ring. The Prophet snatched the ring off his hand and threw it aside and told him, "Would any of you take a burning coal from hell and hold it in your hand?" After the Prophet left, somebody told the man, "Why don't you take your ring and sell it?" He said, "No, by Allah, I will never take it back," when the Prophet threw it aside from me. So again, you brothers cannot wear gold. You can wear silver, you can wear copper, you can wear platinum. DJ Khaled wears platinum. Yeah, he does. I told you, he says he's a practicing Muslim. He's just a music producer. But he don't wear gold. He said he wears platinum. Okay? You can wear platinum, but you cannot wear gold. And DJ Khaled has a beard too. Y'all check him out. He wears a beard too. Okay? So it's not haram for a woman to wear gold. It's only haram for a man. So thus we'll stop right here for today. Inshallah, tomorrow I'll give you a quiz on this, and then we'll continue with some more common prohibitions. Sunnahfollowers.